research expert at the International Center for Evaluation and Development, joins us from Accra, Ghana. Good afternoon, Clarice. Just want to say very quickly, just tell us, what's the status of women's economic empowerment in Africa?
Okay, thank you very much, Will. Thank you for having me. Yes, so kindly allow me to give a brief overview of the International Center for Evaluation and Development. Yes, we are an independent African-owned and led think tank that uses research outputs for policy and action. We work in the global south, but our focus is in Africa. So yeah, the women economic empowerment status in Africa, I must say, is varied across the continent. So women economic empowerment comes in the form of women's access and control over income, women's access and control over productive resources, women's time and leadership. Studies shown by the African Gender Index that there's a large disparity across the continent. And the African Gender 2063 even stated that they want to see an Africa whereby there's an all-inclusive citizenship with regards to decision-making. But this is not the case across the continent.
Clarice, you've been part of a team under the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation funded research project implemented in Africa that sought to look at the triple nexus between women's economic empowerment, infrastructure, and nutrition. What are some of the policy gaps and insights you've picked to enable sustainable women empowerment?
Yeah, so our study was from 54 low and middle income countries in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia with focus on sub-Saharan Africa. As this is an evidence and gap map, we realized that there was large evidence with regards to impacts of infrastructure, from production infrastructure on nutritious diet. But there was a huge gap with regards to impacts of this infrastructure on women economic empowerment and even gender equality. Little evidence was found on farm level energy access and power access, and this impacts women economic empowerment in Africa. So yes, there's a need to synthesize where the evidence is dense. There's a need to synthesize so that we can come up with systematic reviews with where there are gaps. And you know, in Africa, most of our African leaders, they tend to take decisions or make decisions without the evidence. So our EGM or our evidence products would inform these African leaders to have an evidence product to make informed decision with regards to investment, especially with regards to infrastructural investment towards women economic empowerment.
You mentioned the evidence gap map, that's the EGM. It's an emerging tool, we see, but it's to help the governments in the Global South, you mentioned, to design evidence-based policies to tackle development issues. How can this be achieved on the continent? And what are some of the challenges you think the African governments will be facing or could face in adopting this EGM?
So first of all, I'll just use one word: funding. If our African leaders are able to get enough funding for research to be carried out in the evidence and gap map, we'll realize that we'll see where there are evidences and where there are gaps with regards to which sector of the economy they need to focus on, so they can in turn make evidence-informed decision-making.
And that's a wrap on Business Incorporated. Do join us tomorrow for another edition. I am Will Ibong, and thanks for watching.